and welcome to the Storytelling Necklace Workshop Part 2. This part is for you, parents and caregivers, and I want to just talk a little bit about the benefits of storytelling and the benefits of the project that you're going to do or have done with your child, the storytelling necklace. You can see I have some hanging behind me here. You can make story necklaces out of any story. I chose Where the Wild Things Are for this project. Here's my Wild Things. I'm wearing it as a bracelet right now. I chose that one because a lot of people know the story, and there's a lot of activities you can do with them. So we're going to talk about those benefits for you. Also, some added activities that you can do with your child to extend the learning of this project. Some storytelling activities that you can do, and also a little bit about the Life is Good Playmakers playful approach and how you can use that to diminish stress in your own life and also to have a little bit of fun with your kids. So let's get started. In the program video that teaches you and your child how to do the storytelling necklace, the first thing we do is an activity called The Cool Breeze Blows. And I want to tell you just a little bit about why I chose this activity as our icebreaker. It's from Life is Good Playmakers, which I mentioned, and I'll speak a little bit more about shortly. And as you can see here, the little girl is making a motion of like blowing those wishers, but it's a cool breeze. And the way that this game is played is that someone says, "The cool breeze blows for everyone who loves," and then you say something that you might love. Ice cream. If the people in the room love ice cream, they'll make the cool breeze motion like that, or maybe it's a very strong breeze and they're moving trees like that. If they don't like ice cream, they can just say nothing. And the value of this activity is, first of all, it's a lot of fun. Once you get going, it can be really fun, but also it engages the kids in talking and others. You can do it with adults actually too. It engages people in learning about likes and dislikes, commonalities and differences, and accepting those and celebrating those, which is an important skill for being together in a group. So it's and if you have a good sized group, you can stand in a circle and you can move across to take the other person's place, which is a nice kind of added thing to make it more active, which can be great for kids. Kids can also make up the actions that they do. I change it up in this one to the Wild Things Roar. So they can do their Wild Thing Roar for everyone who loves the color blue. But kids can pick the different things that are loved, or and they can also choose the activities. So for instance, they might want to do the bunny hops for everyone who loves the color blue, or the bunny ears wiggle for everyone who loves the color blue, or whatever it is that they would like to do. It's quite a lot of fun and a good way to get things started. So I mentioned the Life is Good Playmakers. It's an organization that works with kids, predominantly kids of preschool age, but they do apply the principles of their research-based activities to school-age children as well. And what I really love about this organization is that they have what's called a playful approach to all of the games and activities that they teach. And a playful approach is a little different than play. Play is wonderful, we know. Play is a wonderful learning tool, but a playful approach can apply to anything. So you can apply that playful approach to something as mundane as washing dishes, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. The playful approach has 4 domains, so 4 components that are some of which or all are present in these activities. The first, which you can see here, is joy. We all know what joy is. Certainly this little guy is in the midst of joy. It's that feeling of exuberance, like all is right with the world, joy. Social connection, that's another component that we require, and that's a part of the playful approach. This one's a little scary looking, I know, for those of us who are a little afraid of heights, but I use it to represent the idea of the domain called internal control. And that might sound like self-regulation, but it's not. It is about having a base of feeling safe and confident and competent from which you can move out into the world to explore and try new things and take risks, which is why I chose this image to represent it. A perfect example of this in children that you might be familiar with is a toddler who is by the parent or caregiver and maybe toddles off just a little ways, but then looks back to make sure, am I still safe? Am I still okay? And the parent or caregiver will acknowledge with a nod or a smile or just even verbalizing, yeah, you're good, you're fine. And the toddler will continue to explore their world. That is teaching that safety, like, yes, you are safe. Yes, you can explore, you can take those risks. And then sometimes you'll see the toddler come rushing back, like, oh no, I need to touch home base here. That is a wonderful example of developing internal control. And we all need that, right? Kids need that at every step of the way to be able to continue to take risks, to explore, to have that foundation of feeling competent and confident and like we are safe to do those things. Lastly, active engagement. You'll see here that the kids, particularly the ones in front, are pretty actively engaged. I'm not sure about the ones to the back, but in the front, they are certainly actively engaged. And that is flow. Flow, so in other words, being really involved in the moment. Time kind of suspends itself. We become less aware of time passing. We are absolutely involved in whatever we're doing. And that's that kind of thing when you're doing something and all of a sudden you look up and you realize, wow, hours have passed and I didn't realize it. That is active engagement. So I mentioned applying the playful approach to washing dishes, and I have a fun story about this. It's, when I took the Playmakers training, my trainer his name was Ant Toombs. Hello, Ant, out there in the world training Playmakers. He told this great story about washing dishes. He calls it busting suds, right? So he said to his young son, I think his son was maybe about 8 or 9 at the time, says to his son, come on, we're going to bust suds. And his son is like, what is that? And he's like, come on, and he's like, that's washing dishes. I don't really want to wash the dishes. And Aunt said, well, okay, but I'm gonna bust suds now. So you know, that's fine if you don't want to participate. So Aunt puts up the tunes and he gets all the suds in the sink and he's washing the dishes and he's having a great old time. He's dancing to the music and rinsing. And his son is like, what are you doing? He said, this is busting suds. I want to bust suds. So, you know, it's an approach. This represents an approach. And the fact that we can make anything, we can use a playful approach for anything, even something that seems like a chore, it can be fun. And you can see in this photo, they're having fun washing dishes, aren't they? And it can be fun. Vacuuming can be fun. Doing homework can be fun. But most importantly, learning can be fun, right? Learning can be fun. And it's certainly reading can be fun. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. And that's the playful approach. In your packet, you will also, in addition to many other handouts, receive an assessment for yourself. It's a Playmakers assessment, I think is what it's called. And it gives you an opportunity to look at those 4 domains and to think about ways in which you can incorporate those into the activities that you regularly do, or things that you can do that'll bring more of those into your life, more joy, more social engagement. How can I do this activity with more active engagement or more social connection. The other thing you're going to receive in your packet is this handout. I just included here, I know you can't really read that on the screen, but you're going to receive this particular handout, and it talks about the benefits of storytelling and adds some storytelling ideas for you to think about and to do with your child. Stories, something that I think is important to realize about stories, and here is the Family Literacy Program, and we are telling stories. I am telling them some stories here. The thing about storytelling is that, stories humans are wired for story. We tell stories all the time. Our kids tell stories all the time. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. Storytelling is different than reading a book. Storytelling is very much about putting that story into your own words. Sometimes we leave big pieces out, and that's fine. I like to teach kids about that they just put it in their own words to tell the story that they may have read in a book. That's a key component of comprehension. And that's very important for kids. So learning how to tell something, learning how to engage with the text, and then tell it in their own words is a very important skill that you can develop with this fun activity, right? The other thing about storytelling necklaces to keep in mind is that cultures have been using beads and necklaces, beaded necklaces for telling stories for a long time. And so that approach isn't new. It is a lot of fun, and it does incorporate all 4 domains of the playful approach, by the way. But it's not new, just the way that I'm applying it here is new. And I should mention my colleague here. I learned about the storytelling necklaces from Mr. Kim Schmidt, who was a fellow librarian. And he had a necklace that he made of beads of the Wizard of Oz. And I just loved that necklace so much. And eventually he gave it to me. It's my prized possession. And from that, I developed this storytelling necklace program and applied literacy to it. So that's the origin of our version of the storytelling necklace. But we've been, as humans, we've been using beads to tell stories for a long time. So it is a natural thing. So where the wild things are, and your storytelling necklace. I mentioned that I chose this because a lot of people know the story. There's also a movie tie-in and a lot of activities that we can add to the mix. And the more activities and the more ways in which you engage your child with the text and the language in the text, the vocabulary in that story, the more learning that occurs, and they can all be fun activities. So here's the key. You're going to receive this. There's multiple pages of this. This is called the beat map. And there's so many different things you can do with this. We're going to talk about to enhance learning. But at the moment, I just want to explain how this works a little bit to you and some of the things your child is learning just by using this bead map. You'll notice at the top, there's a butterfly bead. So these are images of the beads. And then your child takes their beads that they receive from your teacher and matches them up, to these beads. So they put their butterfly bead there. It might be purple, might be green, doesn't matter. They'll put that there. They'll have multiple black beads, but they're going to put 3 there. They'll have beads that represent the wolf suit. The bead, they'll have a heart bead to represent mother. They go ahead and put those on. What they're learning there that is really quite magical is they're learning symbolism. They're learning that those 3 beads stand for a part of a story, and that they don't have to have all the words of the story to remember it, that those 3 beads symbolize that part of the story. In this case, they symbolize on the night, and then the next part is that Max wore his wolf suit. So you see there's 2 parts there that represent that whole section of the story, and they're learning about representation through imagery, which is very important to their later literacy development. And they can even, take that a step further if you want to in your learning. So they're learning to represent this with beads. They can learn to represent that with a movement. They can learn to represent that with art. That's an interchangeable skill, and it's very valuable. And it is such a wonderful opportunity to let them really shine with their creativity and their imagination. And we know how important that is for learning and just really for enjoyment. You're going to receive this handout as well. Again, I know you can't read it. That's not the point of showing it. I just want you to have some familiarity. This is called the telling points. And it breaks the story where the wild things are down into the beginning, middle, and end. And this too is an important thing for children to begin to learn about stories, that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there are key parts to the beginning and to the middle and to the end. And you'll notice there's three sentences in the first one. You can use this in a lot of different ways. You can just read through it and talk about it, which is great. Once your kids, you can use this to help your kids learn the story. When I've done this program with a group in person over a series, like a period of time, that's something that we do to learn the story, is learning just the key points so they can start to remember those. The first one is Max makes mischief in his wolf suit. So that's the summary version of the beginning of that part of the story. It helps them to learn the order of the story within the beginning as well. And then once they start to know this, either reading it or memorizing how the story goes, you can play games with this, which is a lot of fun. You can do activities with balls. If you're playing outside, you can tap a beach ball back and forth. You can roll it on the ground. So one person reads the first sentence of the beginning part of the story, taps it to someone else, and they say the second thing that happens, taps it to someone else who says the third thing that happens. And this is a great way to help kids to really start to understand the story and remember what's happening in the story. You can also play games with the beach ball with vocabulary. You're going to receive this handout, which you can use to play bingo, but it also has the vocabulary from the story, and you can use this to learn vocabulary with your kids in the story, and then play a ball game with that. Your younger kids can just say words that they remember from the story and roll the ball back and forth or bat it back and forth outdoors. Your older kids, you can have them say nouns or verbs. They can be from the story or not, and get a really good game of batting the ball back and forth going. It actually is a wonderful way to learn. Lots of fun. We all end up laughing doing that. It can be nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. It's a fun way to engage with vocabulary and learn those parts of speech as well. So back to this bead map, I mentioned that there's a lot of things you can do with it. In addition to making your story necklace, you can get an extra copy from your coordinator or teacher, and you can cut this up and or have your children cut it up, and multiple things you can do with that. So you can use that as a prompt. You can make story cards out of it, shuffle those up, tell a whole new story based on the image. You can do that in a progressive fashion, which can be fun as a family, a storytelling night where one person, say, pulls the card mother and says, oh, once upon a time there was a mother, and the next person pulls the forest card and says, who walked off into the forest, and you proceed that way. You can also have your older kids who understand the concept of the beginning, middle, and end. So maybe your 7 to 10-year-olds, they could cut these up to make their bead maps as well. You could have them cut the first page up and then shuffle that up and have them paste that down on another piece of paper to arrange the story in order. I've done that with older kids. And so kind of disarranging this and then rearranging it, let the kids do that, and then cut up the middle section and then cut up the end so that they're sequencing the events of the story, which is a vital skill also in storytelling and later in language arts. The other thing you can do with this is cut this up and have match set and play the memory game, which is a wonderful game for kids to play. You turn them upside down and you have, pairs of those cards, and they have to remember where they saw that before, and they get matches. That's a great game. It's fun really for all ages, but it's particularly fun for the little guys. And again, they're engaging with the vocabulary and the imagery from the story, which is deeper engagement with text, which is a very valuable activity. Another thing that kids are learning by doing this, telling the story, and there's of course listening involved in storytelling, but there's also oral expression, which is so valuable for all kinds of activities and endeavors in school and in life, obviously. Something that you'll receive in your packet is called the Reader's Theater version of Where the Wild Things Are. You'll see here that they're doing Reader's Theater. It's exactly what it sounds like. Rather than memorizing the lines of the story, you will have a script that your teacher provides for you in your packet, and you just read through the script rather than memorizing it. And that's how you're doing your theater. You can assign parts if you have multiple family members, or you can just do it back and forth. If you want to get really creative, you see here that they took some cardboard boxes and made scenery as well, so you can really extend the learning. If you have younger kids, you can let them be the wild things and do the roar part. It can be it can be so much fun, and it's such a rich experience for kids who are reading to do, and to again engage deeper with that text and learn to say things in their own words. Here's some pictures of kids making their story necklaces. You see they have their bead maps out in front of them. They're putting the beads down there and stringing them. You'll notice that they have it taped down. That is like one of the most important things to remember to do. Leave a little bit at the end of that elastic so you can pull it up easily without the beads going all over the place. And you see that they are actively engaged in working with that. It's a lot of fun. Something I'd like to mention here, one caveat, is that obviously this program isn't for the smallest children. 3-year-olds, depending on your child, can do well with it with your supervision. Of course, 2-year-olds, this is a bit of a choking hazard, so I don't recommend it for the smallest of the kids. I've never had a problem with that. They're very happy to do another project, some coloring of where the wild things are. You can even let them make a paper plate mask, something like that. They draw on it and paste things on it. So provide them with something else to do, just so you have in mind and are aware. These obviously are a choking hazard for small children. The last thing that I'd like to ask you to do is to take a moment to reflect on what you learned today about the benefits of stories, the benefits of storytelling, some ideas you might have gotten today about what you'd like to do with those things, stories and storytelling with your kids. Also, what you learned about the Life is Good Playmakers playful approach and how you might incorporate that more into the activities that you do personally and the ones that you engage with your children, and how you might promote those 4 domains a little bit, injecting some joy and social connection and active engagement and internal control into your activities. That would be, just think about that a little bit and see what you come up with. It's a great opportunity for a conversation with your children about what they learned and what they loved and didn't love about what they did today, or what they, what was their favorite part. Something that I always share with families I've worked with in the past in the literacy program is the magic wand of helping your child to say a little bit more. Is, in fact, we actually made magic wands to give out to our parents so they could remember this. The magic wand statement is, tell me more. Kids love that attention that you're putting on them. That statement shows that you're interested in what they're saying to you, which is very important. and that you want to know more about it. And it's such a positive way to say that, as opposed to there are more negative ways to express the same thing, but it's a very nice, positive way to express, I'm interested in what you're saying to me, and I want to know more about it. And then with your, with your children that may be learning to express themselves or learning how to say more, you can coach them a bit through that. So for instance, if you asked your child, what did you learn about storytelling today? What did you like about it? And they say, oh, I learned that stories are fun. That is a perfectly great answer, right? But if you want to get them to tell you more, you can say, abracadabra with your magic wand. Wow, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. What did you find fun? Which part was the most fun for you? And they might say, oh, acting the story out, or, oh, I really loved getting my beads. Tell me more. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. Which bead did you like the most? You get the idea. So just really helping them with your attention to learn how to express themselves even better and to reflect on their own experience, which is a highly valuable skill. And if you wouldn't mind doing this, I would really appreciate if you would take a moment to just jot a few notes down about that. It doesn't have to be a lot of writing. Just jot a note or two down. You could even make a little video if you felt so inclined, or a voice recording, and send that to your teacher or coordinator so they know what you learned from this experience. And don't forget to take some pictures and send those on too, because we love seeing what families are doing with these projects at home. So send those off as well. And I want to thank you for spending some time with me, for your very good attention, and happy storytelling. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.